Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. We've got a lot of stuff to cover with the mighty subconscious. Okay. And I will tell you, we've really got to be more and more aware of the subconscious. And I will tell you, it is absolutely amazing to me how this subject is ignored. Okay. We are going to look at how the subconscious governs everything we do and what we got to do to rewire the subconscious. So, this is a very critical type of topic for anybody who's a human and living here today. All right. So, let's get off to the races here. All right, there we go. Okay. Uh I will tell you, I have been absolutely canceled. Canceled. I have been in DE&I for 25 years. Got a best-selling book, have spoken all over the country, 7 SHRM diversity conferences, and I will tell you, it is amazing to me. I thought everyone should be treated with equity. Everybody is human. Hate is always wrong. It's wrong, okay? And when I spoke up and complained about how straight white males were being categorized by my own chapter, in the end, I was canceled. Okay, so it was either drink yourself to death or I joined FAIR. Foundation Against Intolerance and Racism. We are 100% non-political. We've got Democrats, Republicans, we've got independents, everything. All races, all religions, everyone should be treated fairly. That I thought was a good topic. And I'll tell you right now, I want you to really pay attention in this session because this is absolutely destroying us. It is a major, major cause of suicide in this country. All right. So I'll tell you, these are very heavy topics. And I'll be the first one to tell you that a lot of our DEI programming is doing more harm than good. And you are seeing that across the country. Now, so we've got this program this week, this month. If you want to see what's coming up, just go to fairforall.org/Ohio/. And you'll see a lot of stuff there on what's happening in the world, but also you'll see our upcoming podcast schedule. And you can listen to the previous podcast. So if you know someone who missed this week, no problem. And we had several hundred people sign up. All right. And so most people find it difficult to get into their schedule, but they can listen to it on their phone on the way home or something. That's fine. I want to change the way things are happening. And the reason being is my career is about over, but I'm going to spend the rest of my career trying to make the world a little better for my sons. Because if things keep going the way that they are, my sons are doomed. And I'm not taking that figuratively. They're doomed. All right. Now, next month, we are going to segue right from this topic that we've got right here, looking at the subconscious, into dehumanization. And I will tell you, this is what we want to look at. Now, these are all free. Everybody is welcome. So hopefully you'll see what I'm talking about more and more and more, and you will have a whole new appreciation for the programming that is going on in your organization. I don't want to see any programming of hate against anybody. No stereotyping, of course, no illegal programming. And I will tell you, I'm working with FAIR. We're going to put together a series of classes, and they are designed to replace DE&I. Okay, now understand, I have been a staunch DEI supporter for 25 years. And I've always tried to get white males included. Well, I've given up because I don't believe that is possible. And you'll see why as we move through here today. So we're real excited. I just sent over a list of all the classes. I'm thinking there will be 17 or 18 of these classes, each one about a half an hour each. Because people want diversity. Let's take a good poll here. How many people you want equity for all of your people? How many people want that? Yeah, there you go. Got these hands up. I love that because then I don't have to look very far. There you go. Yeah, I want that. I don't want anyone to be stereotyped. How many people are going with me on that one? I don't want stereotyping like all you white guys, all you black guys, all you. Oh, how many people think, and here's a wild one, just throw it out there because most people think I'm nuts anyway. How many people think your programming should be legal? I think that's a given. I thought I was wrong. Let me tell you, I was wrong. And I'll tell you right now, I want to change the way things are. Now, let me ask you, just look across the last year or two. Has the world lost its mind? Let's take a serious poll here. How many people, if I could put up 2 thumbs, I would. How many people think the world's lost its mind? It has. It has. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But one of the biggest reasons that we've got going out there is this: your cell phone. Your cell phone. Now, let me just ask a question. Does anybody have an opinion on cell phones? How many people think cell phones are a good thing? It's a good thing. If I get stuck on the road out there, I got a phone, okay, all this great stuff. How many people think it's not always a good thing? Oh, let me give you a stat, okay? Today's teenager. How many people have kids that are in their teens? Oh, I love this, Tammy. The world before them was just fine. Okay, I can see that, absolutely. Now, how many people you've got friends or relatives that are in their teens or now early 20s? Okay. Do you know that the Gen Yers and Gen Zers have, on a whole, not all of them, but on a whole, have the same level of anxiety in the world today that we had with a 1950s mental patient? That is what this is doing. Okay, why? Because it's always on your mind. It's creating anxiety. And so much is, if it bleeds, it leads. There is so much negativity, and there is so much false information out there. And it's largely due to our subconscious. So let's get off to the races here. I changed the program a little bit for today because I got a call from someone who had been displaced earlier this year. And he said, oh, I just love this organization. He said, I joined FAIR. I joined Ohio FAIR because he told me, and this is what really cooks, I think. He said, I don't feel so alone anymore. I don't feel all by myself anymore. He said, I was told point blank, I am not going to get promoted because they need someone who's black in that role. Now, doesn't that sound bizarre? Would you ever go up to somebody who was black and say, oh, we really need a white guy for this? Okay, no, we really need a Christian for this. No, but this is that blatant. And I'm going to get to in just a second here how the subconscious has rewired itself in so many people's brain that we think this is normal. These are highly educated people. I just wish they had some common sense. The president of University of Penn, MIT, and Harvard, these are top-notch schools in this country. And when they had protests on their college campuses, and students, young, educated kids, smart enough to get into these schools, were chanting for the genocide of the Jews. None of these professors, none of these college presidents could say that they were going to discipline employees for that. Are you kidding me? Oh my, I'm shocked. And I'm still in shock. And I had this presentation once, and one woman spoke up and she says, oh, yes, but, Claudine Gay was saying that, blacks have it much worse. That's what she really meant. And my response is immediate. It shouldn't happen to anybody. It shouldn't happen to anybody. Do you want to argue over who has it worse? There are a lot of people who've had it terrible. Did they fall back on free speech? Oh, thank you, Annette. Thank you so much. Annette, you win a book. That is such a good one because that's my next segue in here. I love that because let's look at the law. Annette, send me your mailing address and give me your pick of books. I'll send you a book. That is exactly what some people will say. Now, let's look at the law for just a second. First of all, these are all private organizations. Private. They are not public institutions. So guess what? You don't have a right of free speech. You don't have a right of free speech. And you have people say, oh, I got a right of free speech. Yeah, sure you do. Okay. If you worked at Mar-a-Lago for President Trump and you said he was an idiot, or you just wore a Harris button, what would happen to you? Anybody have any ideas as to what would happen to that person who exercised their quote, quote, right of free speech? You're fired. You're fired, okay? Isn't it true that because they receive federal funding, they aren't regarded as private, regard to the First Amendment? Well, it kind of depends on what funding they're using. So yeah, that could be. It could be. But let me also clue you in. Couple things here. One is, if you're a private organization, and as David rightly points out, depending on the federal funding that you get, which maybe is why they're in front of Congress, I want to draw the analogy to your organization. What would you do if you had an employee sitting out there and said, oh, we should just wipe out all the Jews. We should wipe them out. Hitler missed a few. Or let's make this something different. We should wipe out all the white people. They're evil. We should wipe out all the Native Americans. We should wipe out all the blacks. Okay. What would you do? What would you do? I think that person's fired. I think that is person fired. So let's look at the First Amendment. Okay. Let's look at the First Amendment. The United States Supreme Court has been very clear about this. If you work for the city or the state or something like this, you have a right of free speech. Absolutely. You do not have the right to threaten. You do not have the right. You have the right to a political opinion. You could go out there and say that, all that land should be given to Palestine, but to call for the death of people, no. You have no free speech rights. That is not going to hold up in court. All right. Now, think about this. Is this a debate? Is this going to create that safe environment? And I always love this. If you want to see how much free speech you've got, okay, go get a job with the federal government, city, state, county. And then you go out there and post on your Facebook that Donald Trump should be assassinated. You're fired. You're fired. And you know how we got a lot of this law? Death threats against Obama, pictures on Facebook of him being lynched. Okay, so you kind of see hate is hate is hate. So what's the right thing to do here? Do we forget? Do we forget? Are you kidding me? Do you not study history? This is Buchenwald. And yes, that little guy poking out in there is Elie Wiesel. And if you're not familiar with Elie Wiesel, go get the book Night. It'll give you the willies. Do we forget this? And look what they're using for pillows. Their pants. Anybody want that? I don't think so. This is what they're defending. And I'll tell you, these are Polish Jews waiting to go to Auschwitz. Auschwitz, okay? Oh, by the way, you see these are all women and children? They're all dead. They're all dead. Auschwitz was not a work camp, it was an execution camp. You mean to tell me that this is okay? It's not protected legally. And now I seriously question your morals. And this one I took when I was at I made several trips to the Holocaust Museum, because it still just boggles my mind that any human being would actually do this to somebody else. Your shoes. Your shoes are very personal to you. Can you see those shoes? Can you see how they've molded to the foot of the victim? You're not supposed to take pictures at the National Holocaust Museum, but, whatever. I do. And it's for this purpose. Don't forget. All right. Where else do we see this coming? Oh, white men are all guilty. That's what I was told. And that's what I got canceled for. All white men are guilty. Freeze right there. If somebody said, you got so many blacks in prison because all these black males are guilty. Whoa. Okay, freeze right there. Would you address that speech if somebody said that in your workplace? And I don't care if you are private sector or public sector. How many people, you're addressing this. How many people you'd give me a call and we would be talking? Oh, let me ask this another way. If you do not address that, what's going to happen in your workplace? You don't have a safe environment. It does not exist. And let me just show you what's happening in our society. Can you see this? Up and up and up and up. Newton. Newton was pretty smart, right? Isaac Newton. Okay. Every action has an opposite and equal reaction. Okay, what does that mean? That's boomerang bigotry, folks. The world is not going to be safe for anyone until it is safe for everyone. We'll have a class on this later on competitive victimization. I think that sounds kind of pompous, but this is boomerang bigotry. If I throw a boomerang at all the Jews, okay, what will a lot of Jews do? Will they pick that boomerang right back up and throw it at someone who looks like me? If I'm sitting around saying how evil black people are or how evil Muslims are, well, I don't know. Do you think someone might fly planes into our buildings? What do you think? Think someone somewhere might do that? That is what we've got today. Now, let me show you how all of this changes the way we think. It rewires your brain. And people react in the opposite direction. This is 1999, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center. Now, I know a lot of people question Southern Poverty Law Center, but the point that I'm making is this is a consistent message and definition for Southern Poverty Law Center. So using their standards in 1999, there were 457 hate groups in this country, the way that they define a hate group. Okay, to me, that's a lot. That's a lot. Nazis, neo-Nazis, skinheads, on and on and on. That's last year. That's last year. It is tripled. Tripled. And I just want you to notice, oh my God, look at California. We got some friends here from California, Oregon, Florida. I thought people mellowed when they got older. No, they get meaner. Okay. And now they got that cane they can get you with. Mental illness. Jama, please remember that. Absolutely. This is now you see why I am really on a tear. Okay. My sons have to live in this world. How do you live in that world? How do you live knowing where I am sitting right now? I am within 10 miles of a dozen hate groups. And I love that everybody look at the chat here. Absolutely. It's very scary. Yeah, Jeannie, it just makes you want to cry. Okay. It's like, oh my God. Now think about this. What is the difference between a Nazi swinging his fist 180 degrees from the right and saying that all Jews are evil, and someone from the far, far left, radical left, that is swinging their fist 180 degrees to the right, saying they are not going to address genocide? If you swing your fist 180 degrees from the right, or you swing your fist 180 degrees from the left, guess what, folks? You meet in the middle and you're the same thing. Your tactics are the same. Thank you, Jama. Jama, send me your address and which book you want. That is gold. Everybody read in the chat what Jama's saying. If the outcome is the same, there's no difference. Exactly. I got canceled for that. Apparently, we have a lot of people across this country in DEI who seem to think that these type of tactics are okay. And I say they are. Now, I'll tell you, it is just amazing to me. People hear what has happened to me. I mean, for the biggest part, my life's over. I mean, the people who I thought were friends will not even return my calls. Okay. There's only one chapter in the state of Ohio that has stuck by me, and that's the one in Chillicothe. The others won't even get back to me. And I've presented to them all. Okay. Now think about this. The answer that I get from a lot of people, well, but you got to understand the pendulum always swings back and forth, never stops in the middle. And today it has swung to the left. So guess what? It's your turn. No, because guess what? That means it's my son's turn. It means it's everybody else's turn who happens to be white, and two wrongs don't make a right. Now, freeze right there. That pendulum swing. Do you see why we now have a record number of hate groups in this country? Is it that hard to understand? Okay. Do you think this leads to suicide? Oh, this gets real serious real quick. And understand, the people who are saying and doing these things, there is a subconscious reason that they feel perfectly justified. Okay, look at these numbers. Now, there are 6 times more white people who live in the United States than black. That's a fact. There are more than 10 times more white suicides than blacks. And this goes exactly to the gentleman that I was talking to who recently joined FAIR. Yes, over 10 times as many whites commit suicide every year as blacks. Racial discrimination, mocking, all this stuff is exactly what is causing this. The experts are in firm agreement. The studies are in firm agreement. If you are the victim of racism, mocking, all this type of stuff, it will affect you. All right. Now, just to let you know, for every successful suicide, there are 4 hospitalizations. There are 8 emergency room visits. There are 27 self-reported attempts. And look at this one. 275 people who seriously consider suicide. That's almost 10 million people. Do you see the breadth of this? Oh my God. No. I don't think the pendulum needs to swing to one side or the other. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. And that's why I implore you to join FAIR, join Ohio FAIR, and let's just show that, no, this stops. It is not going to take place in my organization, and it's not going to take place in my world. All right? That message got me canceled. Because I've been told point blank, oh no, we have to swing the pendulum against white males to make up for the past sins. Okay. How many people you think that's fair to tell to your children? I don't think so. And honestly, what are people going to do when you smack them with a boomerang? Now, let me show you why so many people think this is okay, whether you're to the far radical left. And understand, I will never bash somebody for being to the right or the left. Never. That's your right, and that's fine. It's the radicals who call for genocide, who call for destruction. Okay, now, this is social epigenetics. Okay, what is social epigenetics? Epigenetics. Okay. Your brain, my brain, your brain, every human on the planet, your brain will conform to the environment you subject it to. Yes, your brain will physically change shape and wire to the people you hang around. And I want you to think of the hate messages from the far, far, far right and those hate messages from the far, far, far left. Oh, and let me tell you right now, I have been to over 24, spoken at over 24 DEI conferences. I have never been to one where there wasn't some speaker presenting a stereotyping of white males or some hate message or something that's illegal. And you know what? Every single time the people sponsoring the conference get up and thank that speaker. Oh, no, no, no. You see what this is doing to our brains? Okay, so you see the neuron on the far, or the two neurons, okay, on the far left. All right, so they're firing and firing and firing. That little yellow goo is neurotransmitter. And you see the electrical charge, the white electrical charge? So that is shooting that message back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Okay, your brain feels like soft room temperature butter. Soft room temperature butter. So if you put an electrical charge into soft room temperature butter, does anybody know what that butter is going to do? You can try it when you get home, you know, not too dangerous. Puts a little electrical charge in there, touch the two wires from the lamp you just cut the wire on, and zzz, 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 it's going to melt, isn't it? It's going to melt. Absolutely, Michelle. That's what it's going to do. So guess what? That's why the graphic in the middle is flattening out. It's flattening out. Okay? So it's getting flatter. That means it's getting more efficient. And you see the little sprout up there? You keep firing and firing and firing and firing and firing and firing and firing. You're overloading that circuit. So guess what? You are going to grow little sprouts. And look at the far right. Now you've got two full-grown synapses, neurons. You grow 100,000 new neurons in your brain every month. And every single one of those can grow 10 to 100 sprouts. That's 1,000,000 possible new connections every month. Now, how are you going to spend those?
You mentioned list of
Are you going to spend those listening to somebody who is saying all Jews are this, or all whites are this, or all whatevers or whatevers? Oh, no, no. We need to make sure that what we're putting in front of our people aren't messages of hate. Now, how many people here, you do this all the time? And this is a special wiring for your subconscious. Understand, you have your subconscious is spread all over your brain. One way to develop your subconscious is to form neural pathways, new neural pathways that are dedicated to some thought. You do this when you drive into work. That's how that works. How many people you drive into work when you do drive into work and you don't have a clue how you got there? Right? You just go on automatic and off you go. Actually, even better, me, yep. How many people here that sometimes on a Saturday or Sunday, you start to leave and you start to drive to work? Yeah. That is your subconscious. You have built specific neural pathways in your brain to do that. We call this I always love this right here. Somebody say, oh, I'm multitasking. No, it is physically impossible for the brain to focus on 2, 3, or 4 things. It's impossible. The brain focuses on one thing. Well, guess what else you're doing? You are just going on those subconscious neural pathways and you're doing them automatic. Anybody here ever leave the house and you forgot whether or not you locked it, or you left the house and you can't remember if you took your pills? You ever do that? You did. You did. You just forgot. Okay. Yeah, happens all the time. Yeah, that is your subconscious. Now, I want to picture yourself to the right going to a Nazi rally, listening to all your Nazi friends and all their Nazi hate and everything. And then I want you to picture over here, if you happen to go to MIT or Penn or Harvard, and you are saying and hearing the Jews are responsible for killing all these Palestinians and they should all be wiped out. We need you keep listening to that. There you go. You hear that. This is the same as you being transferred to a new location, 10 miles away. Well, you'd have to think about it. So there's the first day you go. Then what's going to happen? Well, then you go again, and you go again, and you go again, and you go again, until eventually, guess what? You don't have to pay attention at all. You have built a neural pathway in your brain, and now it governs how you think. Do you see how all this hate speech from the far, far, far radical right and the far, 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 far radical left, do you hear how all of this speech is infecting our brains? And it's causing our brains to grow. So yeah, let's look at the subconscious. Like I said, this is the root of all of our problems. Okay, now, are we actually born with a subconscious? Oh, that's a fun question just to think about, right? Okay, how many people have ever slept in the fetal or semi-fetal position? Anybody ever do that? Yeah, I got all the hands here. Yeah. Okay. Now this is actually kind of creepy if you think about it. Where'd you get that idea? Yeah, I can read lips here too. This is great. You got it in the womb. In the womb. You have memories from inside the womb. That is another part of your subconscious, okay? Your conscious mind only governs 5-ish% of what you do all day. Your subconscious mind is about 95%-ish calling the shots every day. So you kind of see how someone can stand up after they have wired their brain and say, well, yeah, I think all Jews are cheap. Well, let's look at this here again. Do babies laugh? Yeah, well, I love this little guy. Okay, yeah, babies laugh. Babies cry. So let's look to see why you are born with subconscious thoughts. Okay, now there's your frontal lobes. Okay, that's what we use to think. Okay, those move at about 264 miles an hour. Okay, that's pretty fast, right? But see the center of your brain there? Kind of looks like the Starship Enterprise. You see the two ends of the engines? The red dots there? Those are your amygdalas. That's your fight or flight response. Now, we could not have had this discussion 25 years ago because Dr. Joseph Ledoux discovered the amygdalas in 1992. Yeah, 1992. Took another 8, 9, 10 years to figure out what in the heck they do. And that's also connected to your emotional system. Those neurons move at 17 thousandths of a second. Lightning quick. So here is a stimulus coming in your brain, and boom, goes right to your subconscious, goes right to your amygdalas that have a memory system all their own. And boom, you're off to the races. 17 thousandths of a second. Can anybody even count to 17 thousandths? That's lightning quick. It's not like you have sections of your brain that are reserved for subconscious. It's that certain sections move faster. Okay. Can anybody tell me what this guy's job is in the yellow shirt? Put my little emoji up here. Anybody have an idea? Because you're kind of looking at his job description there, which he should just turn his shirt around, so you have his job description on the front. That way you kind of know what he's supposed to be doing here. He's on the peace team. He's supposed to be keeping things calm. But it looks to me like the way this fence is shifting there, it looks like he's trying to kill Mr. Spiky Head. Yeah, you're right. He is more of a bouncer than anything else. Well, how does that happen when that's not why he's there? Okay, look how long it took to get that same impulse to his frontal lobes. It takes 2 or 3 times as long. Let me show you. This is a group participation thing here. Let me show you how fast you really are. Humans are amazingly fast. So I'm going to give you a word to say. The word is white. So we're all going to say the word white together 10 times. Then I'm going to ask you a question. But nobody's... Actually, I'll ask you the question and see how long it takes you to answer. Okay? So the word is white. All together 10 times. Then I'm going to ask you a question. Okay, all together. Ready? White, 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 white. What do cows drink? Okay. Water, water. Okay, how many people said water? Yeah, I got a lot of waters in here. Yeah. Okay. I like this on the waters for the typing because it gave you a few seconds to think about it, didn't it? How many people said milk? Yeah, some said, yeah, okay, yeah. Think about it. Your emotional system has a memory system all its own. I can brainwash you in literally 5 seconds. Okay, so what's the answer? One of the keys to controlling your subconscious is slow down and think. You got to slow down and think because the mechanics of your brain in your emotional system and your fight or flight system, as well as all those little connections that you've made that are automatic throughout your brain, move so fast that your frontal lobes can't keep up. So when you slow down, those frontal lobes can catch up. It's quiet in here. Are you all done? I will be leaving in 1 minute unless I hear someone talk. Oh, can everybody hear me all right? Can you hear me? Yes, okay. I don't know. Something must have happened with your speaker. I don't know. Yeah, I'm getting through. So sorry. We'll post the recording here and you can listen to the recording. Okay, good. So sounds like you got speaker trouble. Okay. All right. Now, let me show you how fast you can control your emotional system, how you can control your subconscious a little bit, at least what's in your amygdalas. I'm going to give you another word to say. The word is joke. So we're all going to say the word joke together 10 times. Then I'm going to ask you a question, but nobody's going to say anything for 5 seconds. 5 seconds. You got to let your frontal lobes catch up. Yes, humans are slow-witted. We're slow-witted. We're fast with our emotional system, and that's not to hurt you. Thousands of years ago, Fred Flintstone had to react and move, or he was going to be lunch. Most of you don't live with the daily peril of being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. Fred did. So we've still got that same instinct in our brain. So the word is joke. We're all going to say the word joke together 10 times. And then I'm going to ask you a question, but nobody's going to say anything for 5 seconds. And you'll get it right because you let your frontal lobes catch up. So everybody with me? The word is joke. Ready? Joke, 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 joke. What do you call the white part of the egg? Don't say anything. Let it cook. Okay. What do you call the white part of the egg? All right. How many people? Yeah, the white part of the egg, the shell. Okay. How many people here really wanted to say yolk? Really want? Yeah, there you go. Okay. That would be wrong. You see your subconscious right there playing tricks with you? You got to know there's a subconscious. You got to recognize it. You got to recognize that it controls what you do. You got to recognize that the people you hang around are going to build neural pathways, and you got to protect your brain. Absolutely. Because if you don't stop and think, we all turn in to evil 3-year-old versions of ourselves. That's what we do. That's it. Oh, and by the way, it is so critical what babies are exposed to when they're little, because a baby will culturally bind itself, which means the brain and neural pathways. It'll culturally bind itself to the people it's raised with in the first 9 months. Whatever your child is exposed to in the first 9 months is going to go right into their emotional system and into their fight or flight system, where it will stay for the rest of their lives. This is critical. All of that is priming. It's all our priming comes from our birth, from our emotional system, and also from all those neural pathways. And that is how we see the world. That's how we project the world. So if I think that blacks really are all like this, that's how I really think. We got to deal with that. If I think that all white males are guilty, that's what people think. Do you think they've heard that before? Probably from some authoritative figure, like the president of Harvard. Okay, let me put this to a test here. Who's going to make more money? The tall guy or the short guy? Who's got an opinion here? Same qualifications, applying for the same job, all that kind of stuff. The tall guy, absolutely. The tall guy, overwhelmingly. And this is a fact. Every additional inch of height someone has is worth $789 a year in salary. In other words, someone who is 6 feet tall, with the same credentials as someone who's 5'5", is going to make about $5,500 a year more. That is a statistical fact. Now, you want to see something else that comes into our biases? Yeah, that is nuts. It really is. That's nuts. You want to see something else that comes into our subconscious bias? It doesn't work that way for women. It does not work that way for women. Why? Because we have a bias against women who are tall. It's nuts. That's all subconscious. That's all in there from the culture. Dr. John Bargh. This is a guy that is worth Googling. Dr. John Bargh. He does these experiments, and here's one that he did on priming your brain. And he gave all these students that came in, they're supposed to be applying for a job or taking a test, and they're identifying different types of words. Some of these students were given words that were like old, for old people. Others were given words to identify that are young type words. So what are these words that were for old people? Well, if you were one of the test subjects who got the form that had words like worried, Florida, old, lonely, gray, bingo, wrinkly, okay, you were going to be primed in just a matter of just a few minutes of taking this little test to think old. So what happened? The real test is they gave these students, they gave them this test and said, okay, you got to walk down the hall, go take the elevator down to the first floor, go to the office, and turn in this paper. Okay. The real test was, how fast did these people walk? How fast did they walk? Universally, the people who were given the old words, worried, Florida, old, blah, 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 they walked much slower. They acted like old people. They moved very slow. Whereas the people who were given the younger words walked much more normal, fast. That is the power of the subconscious. Absolutely. So just like we think cows drink milk, these people acted old. That's how susceptible the human brain is if you're not aware. Now, let's look and see how this perpetuates itself in juries. I hear this all the time. Well, the jury system, that is an institutional racist organization. Institutionally racist. No, it's not. I mean, it used to be because only white people could be on juries and things like this. But understand, jury selection should be fair and things like this. But the jury comes in from the real world, and they bring their subconscious biases with them. This is individual prejudice, and it is alive and real. So everybody, I hope, remembers Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman accosted Trayvon Martin. Martin was walking with a hood and walking while being black, and George Zimmerman stopped him. A scuffle ensued, and George shot and killed him. Okay, tragic all the way around. George Zimmerman got off. He got off. Now, psychologists across the world were fascinated by this, and they applied it to the subconscious bias of the jurors. All right, now, research clearly shows, there is no doubt, that the subconscious bias proliferates best when it's ignored. If you don't think you've got a subconscious brain, you're doomed, because it will govern what you do. And when you screw up, you're going to sit back and go, what? What? I thought you knew all Muslims were terrorists. Didn't you know that? Okay. So you ignore it, it will take root. This is what really concerns me when we go to great events and you hear something against Jews. No, if you said that about blacks, or you said that about Muslims, or you said that about women, people would be up in arms. Don't do that. Okay, so what do? Openly discussing and addressing any stereotype, myth, or stigma is a major key to destroying it. That is a universally researched concept. I've got citation after citation after citation. In other words, if you do not address these issues, they will proliferate and completely engulf your organization, just as they have the world. All right, so let's look back at the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman trial, which was really George Zimmerman's trial. These psychologists interviewed the jurors who found George Zimmerman not guilty. Okay, one juror in particular said, well, I think all of us thought race did not play a role. We never had that discussion. Exactly. Exactly. That is exactly my point. And I did a session a while back on the human paradox. We'll probably do that maybe next year, depending on what y'all want to do. The human paradox. The world pretty much sees black people as being bigger and stronger than what they really are, as being dangerous. And so guess what? These jurors coming in are bringing those biases with them. Now, think about this. Let's switch them. Let's switch them. Let's say that George was black, and let's say Trayvon Martin was Hispanic. Do you think the jury would have found the other way? What do you think? Do you think that maybe George would have gotten off? It's an interesting, I think he would. Oh, let me tell you right now, there is a strong subconscious bias against blacks, to the point, and I'll just tip my hand here a little bit, we'll look at this in later sessions. JAMA, Journal of American Medical Association, universally said, oh my God, we've got a problem in the medical profession of under-medicating people of color. Why? Why'd you get that? Because going all the way back to the days of slavery, if you beat a human being senseless, whipped them, that might not be what Jesus would do. That might not be the Christian thing. So guess what? We will find parts of the Bible that will tell us that, slavery is okay. And what else will we do? We'll make up the myth that black people don't feel pain the way white people do. Has anybody ever heard that before? That black people just don't feel the pain that white people do. It's different. Everybody ever hear that one? Oh yeah, I'm getting some thumbs up, hands up. Yep. It's not true. It's not true. But doesn't it make you feel better? Actually, do you know what modern research shows? How many people in here have red hair, blonde hair, or blue eyes? Anybody? Yeah. Do you know that across lots of people here. Actually, the truth of the matter is blonde hair, red hair, and blue-eyed people don't have as much melatonin. So guess what? There's a part of the melatonin molecule that addresses pain. Blue-eyed, red-haired people and blonde-haired people, they don't feel pain as much as brown-haired people. That's not universally true across all people, but as on the average. Okay, we could talk all day about this, but how do we overcome our subconscious? Step by step. First of all, discover your biases. Everybody's got them. Everybody's got them. Everybody's got things that they like. Everybody's got things that they don't like. Everybody has been primed from birth. Everybody has heard stuff. Oh. I'll tell you, this is exactly why I will watch one TV news station that tends to be more liberal, and then I'll switch over to one that's more conservative. And I'll keep going back and forth and back and forth. Why? Because I want to hear both sides. I want to keep my brain healthy. So go to implicit.harvard.edu. They've got all kinds of tests there for you, all kinds of tests as to whether you have any biases against blacks, Muslims, Jews, women, men, on and on and on and on and on. You've got to discover your biases, okay? And it was really interesting throughout all of my troubles that I've had the last 3 years. I was on the phone with Johnny Taylor, CEO of SHRM, and it just amazed me. It just amazed me. He said, yes, but these are difficult subjects for people to talk about. Yes, I know. Do you think I don't realize that? And do you think I actually don't realize that that's why you have to talk about them? Because all these biases and prejudices are going to continue. You're never going to know what you are basically biased against or whatever if you don't discover them. That right there is the root of the problem. We do not address that we all have these subconscious biases and need to deal with them. They don't go away if they're ignored. No. I love the comments here. This is a problem. Now, what else you got to do? Well, you probably figured we got to slow down and think. You got to slow down, just like we did, so you know that egg whites are not yellow, right? And use your EPR skills. Many of you heard me talk about addressing and resolving conflict. In order to make sure you're controlling your subconscious brain and that you truly are exercising empathy for that other person, you use your EPR skills. What's that mean? You start with empathic listening. That means you shut up. You shut up. You listen to what the other person's saying, like you'd say, okay, hey, I understand that there's a problem with this. Tell me, what's going on? And I listen. I don't explain my side first, because that's very disrespectful. I want to hear where you're coming from. And I really do have to listen. I'm not using my lawyer listening where I'm just arguing with you in my head. Okay. I'm listening to what you're saying because I got to parrot it back. Whatever you're saying, I got to parrot it back. That means we don't move on until you agree that I got it. I would say, okay, let me make sure I got this. You're telling me if this happens and this happens, then that's what's going to happen. Do I understand? If the person disagrees, tell me again. We do not move on until you agree that I got it. And finally, if I agree with you, well, you're going to think it's great, right? People love it when we agree with them. But if I disagree with you, let me ask you, I got to give you a reward. Let me ask you, do people have a right to their beliefs? How many people think you got a right? Yeah. I will tell you, one of the big problems we run into is say, well, you have to be accepting of these people over here. The Christian fundamentalist, you have to be accepting of that transgender person. No. First of all, there's a real legal problem there. Second, you just lost them. No, you have a right to your beliefs, especially if they're opposite of mine. I will tell you, I'll defend to the death your right to your beliefs, but I'm going to address your behaviors. You do not have a right to hate. I will, freedom of speech. I will guard your freedom of speech, but you do not send death threats. You do not send hate messages that could be a clear and present danger. No. Or could be insightful. No. So I would say, I see where you're coming from. And you know what? I support your beliefs. I will support your beliefs to the death. But let's talk about your behaviors. Because you believe what you want to believe, but we got to talk about your behaviors. Number 3, seek people who are different from you. What's that mean? Rewire your brain. And the studies on this are overwhelming. And this is truer today than it was then. People don't get along because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other. We don't know each other. So I get to know someone who is Chinese. Okay, I didn't know many Chinese at all until I started doing training for Honda and Toyota and auto suppliers. So there's my first experience right there. I get to know that person, get to know them again and again and again. Now, guess what? I have wired places in my brain where I can recognize people better who are Chinese, and I'm not afraid of them. That is what we have to do. So what we've said here, running away from an issue will only seal your doom. Address it. And I'll tell you, you've got to speak up. You've got to speak up. Make sure this hate programming from the far, far right or the far, far left does not come into your workplace. Everyone is a human. And if you've got anyone of this next generation coming up, get active. Get active. The hottest places in hell are reserved for those who in times of great moral crisis maintain their neutrality. All you have to do to make sure that the evil haters of this world win is to sit back and do nothing. And I will tell you right now, that's why I joined FAIR. That's why I started FAIR in Ohio. And we're already up to over 650 members. I want you to go and join. There's no charge. I want you to join because we need to speak up and say the hate stops here. It stops. Because I'll tell you, we are all stronger together than separate. We got to come together. Everybody with me? All right. Well, those are your codes for today. I will get this posted in the next week. It'll be up on the website. You can find it at Ohio Fair. Okay. Fair for All /Ohio. It's an earlier page here. So those are your codes for today, and I'll post a handout there. And make sure that you are putting this type of programming into your organizations. And I will tell you, surveys are clear. 90% of everybody out there is sick of the hate. They are sick of the hate from the left and the right, but the companies don't know what else to do. This is what you do. Humans safe for everyone. Make sense? Questions, comments, deep religious concerns over anything that we talked about for the last hour? Everybody got it? Okay, if you want to chat about this stuff, I'm easy to find, scottwarwick.com. I really appreciate you coming, and I would really appreciate you and all your friends joining FAIR. And those of you on the West Coast, there are FAIR organizations everywhere. And I'll tell you, I'm getting a lot of DEI people agreeing with me that, yes, we need to bring everybody together. And honestly, we just got to get away from the hate. What is the website for Ohio FAIR? Yeah, here we go. I should have memorized now. Ohio FAIR is fairforall.org/Ohio/. That is fairforall.org/Ohio/. You can also find it on my website, scottwarwick.com. Go to the free resources, which are the free Ohio FAIR Lunch and Learns. And there's a direct link that will take you right there. Okay. And those of you who are in other states, join your state fair organization. It is completely free. And if you believe that all humans should be treated equally, that we should look out for each other, because I don't want that boomerang coming back at my children. Someone who hates Black people is a threat to all people. Someone who hates white people is a threat to all people. So I'll tell you, and hey, if you ever want to talk about this stuff, give me a call. I'll tell you, I think in a lot of ways, FAIR has saved my life because my whole world is gone. What I fought for 25 years, that everyone should be treated equally, that we should not be discriminating against anybody, got me canceled. And honestly, if I turned the guns around, it'd be really funny. I could be like Robin DiAngelo and make a fortune saying how evil white people are. But that also means I'm selling everybody out. That's what I'm doing. Because white people are going to hear that and they're going to hate. And that means that I would be responsible partly for this tremendous booming growth of hate groups in this country. So no, we've got to put an end to it, because I don't even recognize the world that I was born into. I mean, I'm glad a lot of things are different. The world I was born into was Jim Crow, hate, and I fought against that my whole life. Now I'm finding that the guns are turned against me, and I've already been killed. So I'm already dead. What else are you going to do to me? So, hey, join me. I love to hear from people. You can email me. You can call me. I'm always ready to talk. This is the most important thing going on in my life right now. And come hell or high water, we are going to dwarf SHRM. We are going to dwarf DEI. And we're going to bring anybody who wants to come in and wants this message for all humans is welcome. Okay, we got to keep what's good about the original idea of DEI, but we got to get rid of this hate. And my local chapter, Ohio SHRM and SHRM, have proven to me that that is not going to happen. That's not going to happen. They're too entrenched. So we need to form our own. So please support all your fellow humans. And don't forget, next month is dehumanization. Every evil thing in the world that's ever happened has been because of dehumanization. And that is a first cousin to subconscious. So, hey, I thank you all for coming, and we will see you next month. Invite your friends. Everybody is welcome. Take care.